Step into my channel, a sanctuary where your unsettled thoughts finally come to rest. Tonight, allow ancient wisdom to soothe you, easing you beyond stress and into profound stillness. Gently close your eyes. Let go of the burdens of your day and welcome the flow of timeless teachings like a stream of serenity washing over you. Feel your breath become slower and deeper as the clamor of modern life fades into stillness. With each exhale, you drift further from urgency and closer to peace. Allow this calm current to guide you to a sacred place where ancient knowledge has been safeguarded for ages. Imagine yourself strolling along a high mountain trail in old Korea, leaves crunching softly beneath your feet. The cool, fresh air carries whispers of pine and temple incense. Ahead of you stands a humble monastery, its curved rooftops slowly appearing through the soft morning mist like a dream from another era. Somewhere nearby, a bamboo fountain softly ticks in sync with your heartbeat. As you approach the gates, you notice serene gardens lovingly cared for. Mossy stones and elegant gravel swirls blend effortlessly, while a small stream weaves between ancient trees, the morning sun casting playful rays through the leaves. It's as if centuries of serenity have been absorbed into the land. Every stone and tree seems to carry the quiet wisdom of generations of monks who once walked these same grounds. Suddenly, the stillness is broken by a loud outburst echoing from inside the courtyard. You rush toward the wooden gate, only to be stunned by what you see. In the heart of the serene courtyard stands a wealthy man, his fine robes crumpled and his face flushed with rage. His voice crashes against the monastery walls, like a storm disrupting calm waters. His whole body is tense with anger. With a harsh cry, he shouts for Master Wo, his words sharp and cutting through the quiet morning. He accuses the master of having sway with the magistrate, demanding help to retrieve his stolen goods, threatening to shame the monastery if ignored. You realize bandits had ambushed his caravan nearby, and he is left devastated. The monks scatter in alarm, their morning calm shattered by this wave of panic. Amid the chaos, one figure remains unmoved. Near the gate, Master Wo calmly tends to a rock garden, his hands slowly raking lines in the sand. His breaths are deep and steady, completely undisturbed by the outburst behind him. The contrast is so intense that you hold your breath, mesmerized by his composed presence. You step closer, captivated by the stillness he radiates. Sunlight dances across the stones, and it feels as though even time slows to follow his unhurried rhythm. The gentle scrape of the rake against gravel creates flowing designs that resemble streams or drifting clouds in an open sky. Each motion seems intentional, yet relaxed like a poet sketching verses in sand. Meanwhile, the merchant's cries grow louder, more urgent. "Are you even listening, old fool?" he shouts. "I've lost everything. My family has nothing left." His voice is sharp and cutting, an attempt to drag someone else into his spiral of fear. You glance at Master Wo, waiting for any trace of reaction, a shift in his stillness. Yet Wo's face stays as calm and reflective as a lake untouched by wind. Then, the unthinkable happens. The merchant storms into the garden, his boots destroying the delicate patterns in the gravel. You flinch as hours of peaceful work vanish in an instant. "Look at me when I speak," he snaps, yanking the rake from Wo's grip and tossing it aside. The tool clatters on the stone floor. For a heartbeat, only birdsong and the rustle of bamboo remain. Then, to your surprise, Master Wo smiles softly, like a parent gently watching a child's tantrum pass. Wo kneels down and, without a word, begins smoothing the sand with his bare palms. His actions are so serene and flowing that the merchant instinctively steps back, as though he's touched something sacred. The air feels alive, charged with quiet grace like the hush before a soft rain. For the first time, Master Wo speaks. His tone is tranquil as undisturbed water. When we meet the storms of life with storms of our own, we only stir up more chaos. I understand your anger, but no fury can bring back what's lost. No matter how fiercely you demand, the past won't change. But your inner calm, that is untouchable. No thief can take it. No loss can erase it, unless you hand it over by how you respond. You begin to see a change in the merchant's body language. Something in Wo's calm presence shifts the energy, not through argument, but through being. The merchant's shoulders ease. His next words come softer, more fragile. But master, how do I stay calm when I've lost so much? Who I am was tied to all of it. My identity, my family's well-being, our future, it's all gone. You find yourself drawn in, leaning closer. This isn't just a conversation anymore, it's a transformation. Wo nods slowly, his gaze filled with the quiet wisdom of someone who's faced devastation and been reshaped by it. Let me tell you something, he says, settling onto the stone border of the garden. You move slightly to hear better, sensing that something deeply meaningful is about to be shared. Years ago, I too lost what I thought was everything. I had built my identity on the foundation of knowledge. I was a respected scholar, and my writings were treasured far and wide. Then, in a single night, a fire took it all. My entire library, thousands of pages, and decades of study turned to ash. Everything I'd built vanished. The merchant slowly lowers himself to the ground, almost without noticing. And something about the atmosphere shifts, like even nature is listening more intently. The morning quietly unfolds around you. Leaves murmur their age-old secrets, and golden sunlight spills across the earth, as if nature itself is honoring this intimate moment. So, what did you do then? The merchant finally asks, now more curious than combative. I sat among the ashes and cried, Wo replies, without hiding a trace of vulnerability. For 3 full days, I was consumed by rage at fate, at the servant who knocked over the lamp, even the wind that spread the flames. I was drowning in grief, in blame, in despair. But on the 4th morning, surrounded by the wreckage of everything I had built, I saw something remarkable. There, among the blackened ruins, a single green sprout had broken through the ash. It reached upward with such clarity of purpose, so alive, so determined, that I forgot my pain for a moment. And in that stillness, I realized something powerful. The fire hadn't taken my real work. It had only burned the vessels that carried it. The true value, the essence of what I'd learned, wasn't in the paper or ink. It was in me, and in my reaction, I nearly abandoned it. I almost gave up the one thing no fire could destroy, my own inner wisdom. That tiny sprout taught me something lasting. Our most precious gifts aren't things that can be taken from us. They're the qualities we carry inside. The ability to find stillness, to access insight, to choose peace, even in loss. You glance at the merchant, whose tears now reflect understanding, not pain. So, you simply let go of it all? The merchant whispers, his voice fragile. I chose to act from awareness, not impulse, Wo replies calmly. Reactions stem from the hurt part of us that ties our worth to our belongings, our status, or others' opinions. Responses arise from the deeper truth of our being. That deeper truth exists beyond all external events, Wo continued. When I stopped seeing the fire as tragedy, and instead welcomed it as a teacher, everything shifted. The merchant brushes a tear away. But master, I still have mouths to feed. I still need to rebuild everything I lost. How does staying calm solve those real-world problems? He adds. Wanho smiles, tracing new ripples in the sand. That's the paradox, he explains. When we stop draining ourselves with anger and resistance, we unlock the energy to actually solve things. After releasing all that fury, my vision became clear, Wo continues. I rewrote my best work entirely from memory, this time from lived experience, not just intellect. His hands carve spirals in the sand. each curve echoing the cycles of destruction and renewal that shape human life. That night, I went to sleep with nothing left, he says softly, but I woke up remembering everything that truly mattered. The pages were only a shell. The real treasure had always been within me, waiting to be revealed by life's challenges. The merchant slowly rises, clearly changed. His posture is no longer burdened by rage, but lifted with a quiet strength. I think I'm beginning to get it, he says, eyes tracing the sand patterns woe has shaped. The goods are lost, yes, but my ability to create, contribute, and build something that matters, that's still with me. The thieves couldn't touch that. O gives a slow, satisfied nod, like a gardener witnessing a seed finally break ground. Now you're beginning to feel the liberation that comes from choosing stillness over impulse, Wo says. When we stop seeing ourselves as what can be lost, we discover what is eternal. From that depth of calm, we gain the clarity to act with wisdom. You watch the merchant bow low to the master, no longer with pride, but in genuine reverence. Thank you for helping me see the space between reaction and response, he says. I came here wanting you to fix the outside world, but instead, you helped me reconnect with something deeper, my true self, untouched by circumstances. As he prepares to depart, Master Wanho offers him the wooden rake. Keep this with you, the master says with a warm expression. When the urge to react comes, remember this garden. Though it may be disturbed, it can always be restored with patience and presence, just like your inner world. You remain seated as the merchant leaves, his steps lighter, even though his hands are still empty. Life in the courtyard resumes its natural flow. Birds take up their songs again. The bamboo fountain resumes its steady rhythm, tick, tick, tick. The sun rises higher. Yet something feels unmistakably different. You've just witnessed a quiet miracle, not one of magic, but of transformation. A soul choosing presence over reaction. Wanho begins reshaping the garden's patterns, and you're struck by the ease with which he embraces a clean slate. There's no clinging to the past design, no trace of frustration. Every movement of the rake feels deliberate, infused with full awareness, as though nothing exists beyond this moment and this line in the sand. As you observe him, a realization dawns. This is what true mastery is. A serene acceptance of the present moment, combined with a joyful engagement in what's unfolding. Wo suddenly glances up at you, eyes calm yet piercing. You look curious, he says. You blink, caught off guard, realizing how deeply you've been lost in thought. I was just wondering, you say, how you've cultivated such calm. How do you remain unaffected when someone tears down something you poured your heart into? The master lets out a soft laugh, gentle like a stream moving over pebbles. It's not about controlling myself, he replies, now fully focused on you. Control suggests resisting with force, he explains. But what I practice is more like inner anchoring. When you truly grasp what reaction is, it loses its pull. Just as a child eventually tires of an old toy. You lean in, drawn to this deeper wisdom, as life in the monastery continues quietly around you. Let me share something about the essence of reaction, he continues, voice lowering like he's offering a sacred truth. Every reaction isn't new, it's the echo of an old hurt resurfacing. That realization strikes you softly but deeply, like a quiet thunder. What do you mean by that? You ask, feeling on the edge of something that might transform how you see everything. Pay close attention, Wo replies, beginning to draw a fresh design into the sand. This time, he shapes a simple circle, a symbol of unity and completeness. Observe how your reactions are often far more intense than the moment seems to justify. He says, that's because you're not reacting just to this event. You're reacting to a lifetime of similar moments. The now becomes a canvas where all your old wounds are projected. You begin recalling moments when minor events sent you spiraling, like a small critique at work that left you upset for hours, or an offhand remark from a friend that derailed your whole day. Suddenly, Wo's words click into place. So when I react, I'm not truly engaging with the moment itself. Exactly. The master smiles, satisfied with your realization. Reactions are rooted in the past. Responses arise from presence. When that merchant was shouting, his rage wasn't just about stolen goods. He was replaying every memory of feeling powerless, mistreated, or unsafe. His outburst had almost nothing to do with me or the present moment, Wo adds, and everything to do with his history of fear and insecurity. The clarity of this teaching locks into place within you, like a puzzle piece finally found. But if reactions are echoes of old pain, you ask, how do we break the cycle? Wo's eyes twinkle. We don't break them. We don't fight them. We simply see them, Wo says softly. The moment you recognize your reaction isn't truly about now. Its power over you fades. It's like becoming lucid in a dream. Once you know it's not real, it can no longer dominate you. He rises and walks toward a stone basin filled with still water, motioning for you to join him. Gazing into the glassy surface, you see your reflection clearly until Wo gently drops a small pebble in the center. Ripples fan out in perfect circles, warping your image. This is what a reaction looks like, he explains. The pebble is the event. The ripples are your emotions. Most people panic and try to stop the ripples with force only to make more. Slowly, the water settles again. The ripples disappear. Your reflection becomes whole once more. But if we just observe and don't interfere, stillness naturally returns, Wo continues. That's the heart of non-reaction. You stop identifying with the turbulence and remember, you're not the surface. You are the entire lake. The simplicity and power of his words stir something inside you. You realize you've spent years mistaking passing waves of emotion for your entire identity. So the practice is to remember who we truly are beneath it all? You ask. The practice, Wo gently corrects, is to rest in who we truly are. There's a difference between thinking about peace and living from it. He continues. Come, I'll show you. He guides you to a small meditation hut perched above the valley. From this peaceful height, you see the winding paths below where travelers move between distant villages. As the mist lifts, the valley unfolds like a painted scroll. Terraced hills, distant peaks in dusky blues and purples. Sit here a while, Wo suggests gently, and simply notice that you are noticing. You ease into the seat, grounding yourself on the wooden floor, feeling the touch of the morning air against your skin. At first, your mind tries to decode the instruction, eager to grasp what it means to be aware of awareness. But slowly, a quieter awareness begins to reveal itself, one that observes every thought, emotion, and sensation without being entangled in any of them. It feels like discovering you've lived your whole life at the surface, unaware of the vast stillness beneath. That awareness, Wo murmurs, is your true nature. It is also the merchant's true nature, he adds, and everyone else's. Thoughts fluctuate. Emotions surge and fade. Circumstances constantly shift. But this conscious presence remains untouched. From here, there's no impulse to defend or resist, because there's nothing threatened. You rest in this discovery, enveloped by a tranquility deeper than anything you've known. It isn't the peace that comes from perfect conditions. It's the unshakable serenity that comes from knowing that your essence is untouched, no matter what happens. And from here, every action can arise not from fear, but from clarity and love. Somewhere nearby, a bell sounds a soft chime calling the monks to continue their day. Your eyes open. Wo was sitting across from you, a peaceful smile on his face. Now you've truly tasted non-reaction, he says quietly. Not because you resisted anything, but because you remembered what cannot be disturbed. This is the root of all wisdom, Wo says, the wellspring of compassion and the source of true skill in action. As you prepare to continue your journey through the temple grounds, he offers one final reflection. Never forget, every soul you meet is engaged in the same silent struggle, the pull between their conditioned reactions and their higher self. When you remain anchored in your own stillness, he continues, you become a sanctuary where others are gently reminded of their own. His words land in your heart like seeds in fertile soil. You walk deeper into the monastery grounds, carrying this quiet knowing. The rising sun bathes the stone path in golden light, as if the day itself were blessing your intention to live with presence. From a distant courtyard, the sound of monks chanting rises like mist, their voices interweaving in sacred harmony, echoing something eternal. Each syllable feels like a heartbeat of the universe, reminding you that peace isn't something you must chase. It's something you must remember, again and again, with every inhale, with every exhale. You follow a stone path framed by ancient maples. Their autumn leaves blaze in brilliant hues of crimson, gold, and amber. With each soft breeze, a few float gently to the ground, nature's own meditation on impermanence. One drifts into your open palm, a perfect leaf, intricate veins glowing in the light, already halfway back to the earth. And in that moment, you understand something deeper about non-reaction. Everything you see is already in the midst of change. Clinging is like trying to hold sunlight. As you enter another courtyard, you find the source of the chanting, a circle of young monks seated beneath an ancient oak, their voices rising like incense into the morning air. The sacred chants rise and fall in ancient rhythms, resonating deeply within your being. At the center sits an elderly nun, her tranquil face and keen eyes exuding timeless wisdom. This is Master Shanggong, famed for her teachings on like space, the ability to remain untouched by passing mental events. You quietly take a seat at the outer edge, careful not to interrupt this sacred moment. The chanting flows on, each cycle deepening the tranquility radiating from the circle. When the final vibration fades into stillness, Master Shangyang meets your eyes with a smile that seems to wrap around your soul. "Ah," she says warmly, her voice smooth as flowing honey. "Master Wo has sent us another soul seeking stillness. Welcome to our morning reflection." She invites you forward, and the monks shift to make room as you step toward the heart of the gathering. She continues, "Our discussion today is timeless. How does one stay anchored in peace amidst a chaotic world? How do we hold stillness when everything outside pulls us into noise and conflict?" A young monk raises his hand, voice uncertain. "Master Shangyang, I grasp this teaching in theory, but when someone mocks my practice or doubts my sincerity, I still feel that sting of defensiveness. How do I turn this knowledge into true embodiment? Allow me to tell you an old tale that reveals this difference clearly." She adjusts her posture slightly, and you can sense the entire group's focus narrowing, like sunlight drawn to a single point through glass. In the Tibetan highlands, many years ago, lived a solitary man named Pulden, who spent 3 decades mastering meditation. He believed he had reached perfect balance of mind, immune to any external disturbance. His cave was immaculately ordered, his schedule followed with precision, and his inner world felt as undisturbed as a still mountain lake. You can almost imagine him sitting serenely among the snow-covered peaks, content with his disciplined journey. Then one day, Master Shangyang says, a wild yak barged into Pulden's meticulously arranged cave. The large, woolly creature trampled his cushion, disrupted everything, and began devouring the food he had stored for the cold season. In that instant, Pulden realized his serenity hadn't been truly challenged until now. The monks lean in, clearly relating to this tale. Pulden erupted in fury, yelling, tossing stones, and eventually chasing the animal away with a stick. As he stood among the ruins of his sanctuary, breathless and stunned, he saw clearly that his years of solitude had been more comfort than cultivation. He had built peace only within perfect conditions, never exposing it to the unpredictability of life. Master Xiangyang falls silent for a beat, letting the insight land in your awareness. You begin to recall your own peaceful moments, how easily they were lost to minor irritations. What happened next is where the true lesson emerged, she says. Rather than sink into despair or retreat back into isolation, Paulden chose a bold path. He descended into the valley, into the noise, the crowds, the unpredictable swirl of daily life, to train his steadiness there. The serene cave fades from your mind, replaced by the clamor of a Tibetan bazaar. For the first time in many years, Paulden found himself immersed in life's chaos, shouting vendors, crying children, the cacophony of living. And there, in that swirl, he began meditating in earnest. Not the controlled stillness of a cave, but the gritty discipline of presence amid distraction. A young monk knits his brows. But Master, isn't it better to practice in quiet places? How can we stay focused with so many distractions? Xiangyang's eyes gleam with gentle understanding. This is the very confusion that kept Paulden stagnant for 3 decades. We often assume meditation means entering a calm and undisturbed state, she explains. But the real work begins when we can remain aware no matter what's happening inside or outside. That's the kind of mindfulness that changes a life. She reaches for a small bell and gives it a single chime. The pure note rings out, echoing in the stillness before fading away. This bell is like a difficult emotion or thought, she says. You can try to stop the bell from sounding, or you can become the space that welcomes and releases it. The sound comes and goes. The space remains unchanged. As she speaks, something within you shifts like a door silently opening. So the real work, you hear yourself say, isn't to eliminate disturbance, but to become vast enough to allow it untouched. Exactly, Master Xiangyang beams. You're now seeing the gap between avoiding discomfort and embracing it with grace. Paulden's understanding came not in silence, but amidst chaos. He realized he had no control over what arose, be it scent, sound, memory, or fear. So he anchored his practice in the quiet witness that observed all things yet clung to none. As the lesson unfolds, you notice how the courtyard's light has changed. The crisp white of morning now melted into a soft amber hue. You simply witness the shift, realizing nature itself is always illustrating impermanence. Even this sacred moment is already dissolving. And somehow, that letting go feels deeply restful. There's more to Paulden's journey, Master Xiangyang adds, her voice now softer, more tender. One afternoon, after years of practice in the bustling market, Paulden witnessed a scene that would test his transformation. A merchant, red-faced and shouting, berated a young worker who had broken a costly vase. The boy stood frozen, shame in his eyes. Paulden watched calm, unmoved, present. And you realize, this scene echoes what happened with Master Wo and the angry merchant earlier. But then, the master continues, something unexpected happened. As Paulden observed this display of unconscious reactivity, a wave of deep compassion welled up in him. Not pity, not moral judgment, but a sincere love for both the furious merchant and the trembling assistant. He saw clearly, both were prisoners of their own suffering, and he felt moved to respond. What did he do? Asked the young monk who had spoken earlier, his eyes wide with interest. He approached the merchant with the same presence he had cultivated in meditation. Not reactive, not avoiding, just completely present and open, Master Xiangyang explains. Sir, he said gently, I couldn't help but notice that you seemed very upset. Accidents happen to all of us, Paulden continued, and this young man appears genuinely sorry for his mistake. Perhaps there's a way to handle this that honors both your loss and his learning. The image fills your mind with warm possibility. The merchant stopped mid-rant, stunned by the unexpected kindness. For a moment, the entire marketplace seemed to pause, as if everyone sensed something different was happening. Someone was responding from wisdom, not woundedness. The merchant's shoulders relaxed. His mask of anger faded, and for the first time, he truly saw the assistant he had just been berating. What he saw was not carelessness or incompetence, but a frightened young man already burdened by his mistake. Master Shangyang pauses, letting the weight of this moment settle in your awareness. Around you, the monks sit in deep stillness, receiving not just the story, but the transmission of wisdom it carries. The merchant apologized to his assistant and even bent down to help gather the shattered pieces of pottery. But more importantly, he discovered a vital truth that day: the difference between reacting from hurt pride and responding from a place of basic kindness. Paulden had gifted him something no material object could rival. It was the gift of reconnecting with his innate goodness. As you reflect on this story, a quiet warmth stirs within you. You begin to realize that non-reaction isn't about detachment or coldness. It's about being so fully grounded in the present that you can meet each situation with exactly the right energy. You turn toward the Master and ask, how can we cultivate this spacious awareness in daily life? Most of us can't retreat to mountain caves or sacred markets. Master Shangyang smiles knowingly. Everyday life is full of opportunities to practice this kind of awareness, she says. When washing dishes, instead of rushing mentally to what's next, can you be fully present with the warm water, the bubbles, the feeling of cleansing? When someone cuts you off in traffic, can you take one conscious breath and notice the space between reaction and response? She rises gracefully and gestures for the group to join her in a nearby fountain. Water trickles endlessly from a bamboo pipe into a carved stone basin, creating a steady, soothing rhythm that brings your awareness into the now. This is the practice, the Master explains. The water is always moving, sometimes quick, sometimes slow, sometimes clear, sometimes filled with debris. But the basin doesn't resist. It simply allows each moment to pass through it, she says. Watching the flowing water, the metaphor finally lands in your body, not just your mind. We are the basin, you say, the insight landing with clarity. Our thoughts and emotions are the water. The practice is staying steady while letting it all pass through. Beautiful, says Master Shangyang, her eyes alight. You're no longer just understanding, you're living the teaching. This is exactly what Paulden realized in the market, she continues. He became the still presence in which all things could arise and pass. Anger didn't take him over. Joy didn't possess him. Fear moved through him without staying. A young monk dips his hands into the fountain beside you. As he opens his palms, the water trickles back down. You can't hold on to water, he notes. The tighter you grip it, the faster it slips away. Yes, Master Shangyang nods. But when you stop trying to grasp it, you can feel its coolness, its clarity, its gift. That's the paradox of non-attachment, she says softly. Only when we let go can we truly savor life. The sunlight dims and early stars begin to blink awake in the sky. From somewhere deep in the monastery, a bell sounds, summoning the community to meditation. As the monks begin to rise, Master Shangyang steps toward you. In her palm is a smooth river stone. Take this, she says gently. When you feel yourself reacting, hold it. Remember, you are steady like a mountain, open like the sky, flowing like the stream. You hold the stone, sensing its warmth and weight, a silent reminder that you can hold all experiences without being consumed by them. You close your fingers around it, feeling an ancient steadiness settle in your bones. Thank you, Master Shangyang, you say, bowing low. This idea becoming space for our experience instead of trying to control it, it feels like the answer I've been seeking for years. She smiles and places her palms together. The door you've been pushing on, she says gently, was never locked. It only opens inward, she continues. Every moment of non-reaction is a quiet step into freedom. As you turn from the fountain, you hear the first notes of evening chanting rising from the hall, like a river of voices flowing toward the sky. Each voice maintains its own tone, yet blends into a sacred harmony. You suddenly see, this is the practice. Being yourself, yet part of something vast. A song of individuality nested in the silence of unity. You walk the moonlit path toward the meditation hall, drawn by the resonance. Others walk beside you in contemplative quiet, shadows flickering under ancient trees. The monastery glows with evening stillness, touched by a sense of timeless presence. Lantern light spills like honey across the path. Everything feels alive with quiet reverence, as though the stones themselves remember centuries of stillness. Near the hall, you notice an old man seated alone, simple robes, time-worn face, yet he radiates a peace that seems to glow from within. Something in his stillness draws you. You sit beside him, uninvited but welcome. He says nothing at first, yet you're sure he notices. After a time, his voice flows. The chanting is beautiful tonight. But even more beautiful, he says, is the silence between the notes. Without it, the music would vanish. You begin to hear what he means. The pauses between syllables hold the entire chant. That silence, he continues, is like awareness itself, not absence, but the presence that makes experience possible. You realize with awe, this is Master Jiguan, the monastery's eldest teacher. His eyes seem to have watched all things rise and fall without clinging. Master Jiguan? You ask softly. He turns to you smiling. Word travels fast in a monastery. He chuckles. I hear you've received powerful teachings on non-reaction. I wonder if you'd like to hear about the deepest level of this practice, where non-reaction becomes a spontaneous expression of your true nature. Your heart beats faster. Something in his presence tells you this teaching could shift everything. I would be honored, you reply, settling in. Master Jiguan looks to the stars, and you follow an endless sky dotted with light. Tell me, he asks, when you look at the night sky, what do you see? Stars, you say, then pause, sensing more. And space the darkness between them. Good, he nods. Now tell me, which is more important, the stars or the space? You reflect. Without space, the stars couldn't exist. The space lets them shine and gives them meaning. So I suppose space is more fundamental. Exactly, says Master Jiguan, pleased. Yet most people only notice the stars, what appears and disappears. They miss the vast openness that holds it all. We do the same with our minds. We become absorbed by thoughts, emotions, stars of the mind, and forget the awareness they appear in. But when you recognize yourself as that aware space, non-reaction becomes as natural as the sky remaining undisturbed by clouds. The teaching hits you so strongly you feel briefly dizzy, like he's pointing to something you've always known but never noticed, like becoming aware of the air you breathe. You're saying we are the space of consciousness, not its contents? I'm not saying it, he smiles. You're recognizing it right now, he continues. You're aware of my voice, the chanting, the bench, your thoughts and feelings. What is it that's aware? Can you find it? Point to it? Can it be disturbed by what it knows? You close your eyes, turning inward. I can't find it as an object, you say. It's more like I am it. It's not something I have. It's what I am. Master Jiguan claps once sharp, clear. Yes. Can awareness be angry? Sad? Reactive? Or does it just allow all to come and go within its vast stillness? You realize you've spent your life identifying with surface waves, never noticing you are the ocean itself. This awareness, it's already free, isn't it? Already peaceful, already unmoved. Now you begin to understand why great masters don't practice non-reaction. Master Jiguan says with deep satisfaction, They simply rest in their true nature, naturally non-reactive. When you know yourself as infinite space, how can any finite experience disturb you? When you recognize yourself as the unchanging witness, how can any changing phenomenon shake your peace? The chanting crescendos, then fades. In that silence, you feel the truth of his words not as concepts, but direct experience. You are the silence in which chanting arose and dissolved. You are the awareness in which thoughts come and go. You are the spacious presence untouched by any passing event. This is the ultimate teaching. In that silence, you feel the truth of his words not as concepts, but direct experience. You are the silence in which chanting arose and dissolved. You are the awareness in which thoughts come and go. You are the spacious presence untouched by any passing event. This is the ultimate teaching. Master Jigwon whispers, voice barely audible yet piercing your core, not to become non-reactive, but to recognize that your deepest nature is already pure awareness, untouchable, uncheckable, eternally free. Every practice, every method just points back to this simple recognition, what you've always been. You sit together in deep silence as this insight integrates into your being. The monastery seems to shimmer with new meaning. Every stone, tree, shadow becomes a reminder of the presence that sees it all. The boundary between you and the world dissolves. You recognize the same awareness in all things. Finally, Master Jigwon stands and gently places a hand on your shoulder. The night is deep, and tomorrow brings new chances to live from this insight, he says. Remember, every moment of forgetting is another chance to remember. Every reaction is an invitation to return to the unmoved space. And every breath is a doorway back to the awareness that you are. As he walks slowly toward the meditation hall, his figure gradually disappearing into the shadows, you remain on the bench in a state of profound stillness. The night air carries the scent of incense and jasmine. A night bird calls across the valley. Each sensation arises in the vast space of your awareness and dissolves back into that same space, leaving no trace, causing no disturbance. You now understand that this whole day, from the angry merchant to the peaceful garden, from the flowing fountain to the starry sky, has been one continuous teaching on the nature of consciousness. Each story, each encounter, each moment of recognition has been pointing to the same truth. You are not a small reactive self defending against a threatening world. You are the infinite awareness in which all worlds arise and dissolve, the eternal witness untouched by what it sees. The monastery bells chime midnight, their deep tones rolling across the valley like waves of peace. You rise from the bench and begin walking slowly toward your guest quarters. But your steps feel different now, lighter, more fluid, as if floating from stillness rather than personal effort. As you pass the garden where you first met Master Wo, you pause to look at the sand patterns. Even in moonlight, the lines are still visible, though slightly blurred by the breeze. Tomorrow, you realize, he will rake them again, not because the old patterns were wrong, but because every moment invites new expression, new creativity, new responsiveness. This, you understand, is what it means to live from the place of non-reaction. Not to become rigid or unchanging, but to remain so fluid and spacious that you can respond freshly to each moment without carrying the burden of past reactions or the anxiety of future ones. Like the garden patterns, each response arises spontaneously from present moment awareness and dissolves back into that awareness when its purpose is complete. You reach your quarters and pause at the threshold, looking back across the moonlit monastery grounds. Everything is exactly as it was this morning when you first arrived. Yet everything has been transformed by the shift in your perception. The buildings are the same, the paths are the same. The trees and stones remain unchanged. But you are seeing them now from the place of awareness itself, rather than from the limited perspective of a separate self trying to navigate a foreign world. As you prepare for sleep, you carry with you the teachings of this extraordinary day. The angry merchant has shown you that every reaction is an old wound seeking healing. Master Woe has demonstrated that response emerges naturally from presence. Master Sun Young has revealed that we are the space in which all experiences arise. And Master Jiguan has pointed you to the ultimate truth, that what you are seeking, you already are. Sleep comes easily, naturally, like a gentle dissolving back into the source from which all experience emerges. Your dreams are spacious and peaceful, filled with images of flowing water, vast skies, and gardens that rake themselves in perfect patterns that are never quite the same, yet always expressing the same underlying harmony. Even in sleep, you remain aware of the awareness that dreams all dreams and wakes from all awakenings. The constant presence that is your true face before you were born and after you return to the mystery from which you came. You wake before dawn to the sound of distant temple bells. But this awakening is unlike any before. No grogginess, no confusion. You rise like a lotus flower opening to morning light effortlessly, naturally, with full presence. The awareness that witnessed your dreams is the same awareness now sensing the soft gray light through the window. You realize consciousness never truly sleeps. It only changes what it experiences. You dress quietly and step outside. The monastery is wrapped in silvery dawn mist, making everything dreamlike and ethereal. Your footsteps on the stone path seem to rise from silence and dissolve back into it, each sound held gently in vast stillness. As you walk, you feel your body move with a new ease, as if carried by the same awareness that moves the clouds and draws sap through the trees. You're drawn toward a part of the monastery you've never seen, a narrow path winding up the hillside behind the main buildings. Ancient stone steps, smoothed by countless feet across generations, lead you higher, into deeper mist and deeper silence. Each step is a meditation, each breath a prayer, each moment a doorway into vaster peace. At the top of the path, you find a small hermitage among towering pines. Smoke rises from its chimney. A warm glow behind paper windows suggests someone is already awake and deeply present in this remote sanctuary. As you approach, you hear the soft, rhythmic sound of someone gently tapping inside like meditation rendered into wood. The door opens before you knock, and you find yourself face to face with a woman whose white hair glows like mountain snow. Her age seems to dissolve into presence. Her face is etched with the lines of long practice, yet her eyes shine with the innocence of first seeing. In simple gray robes, she moves with the ease of someone fully embodied in the now. This is Master Moen, revered for her mastery of effortless action, acting without the distortion of personal will. "Ah," she says, smiling with a radiance that fills the hermitage, "the student of non-reaction." Her voice is like remembering. "I sensed you coming. Thought you might wish to see how the teachings shape daily life." She steps aside, inviting you in. Inside, everything is simple and intentional: carved bowls, meditation cushions, a single candle on a small altar. Near the window is her workbench, where she's crafting an exquisite wooden flute, smooth as silk, its patterns swirling like frozen water in motion. "I've been working on this for 3 months, she says, her fingers caressing the flute like a living being. But working isn't quite right. It's more like listening to what the wood wants to become and helping it get there. She lifts the flute and touches the part still being shaped. When I first began learning woodcraft many years ago, I approached it the way most people do, with effort, force, the will to impose. I gripped tools tightly, pushed hard, fought the wood's grain. The results were usable but lifeless, and the process left me drained." Master Mion sets the flute down gently and lifts a small curved knife that fits her hand perfectly. Then one day, after years of struggle, something shifted. I was working with a stubborn piece of cherry wood, growing more frustrated by the minute. In a moment of exhaustion, I simply stopped. I set the tools aside, placed my hands on the wood, and asked it what it wanted to become. She pauses, her gaze distant, remembering. I felt its grain, the hidden tensions, the direction it wanted to move. When I picked up the knife again, my hands moved differently, not imposing, but following. You watch as she works the flute, each cut guided by deep listening rather than fixed intention. This, she says softly, is what we call woe action from non-action, effort from effortlessness. It's the same as what you've learned about non-reaction, now in the realm of creation. She offers you the tool, and you take it with slightly trembling hands. Try making a small cut on this practice piece, she suggests, indicating a block of soft pine wood. But before you begin, close your eyes and feel the wood. Let your hands discover its texture, its density, the direction of its grain. Don't think about what you want to create. Just listen to what wants to be created. You follow her instructions, closing your eyes and running your fingers over the wood surface. At first, your mind wants to analyze and plan, but gradually you begin to sense something deeper, a kind of intelligence in the material itself, a natural tendency towards certain forms and away from others. When you finally make your first cut, you're surprised by how smoothly the knife moves, as if it's following a path that was already there, waiting to be revealed. Beautiful, Master Moen says with genuine appreciation. You're beginning to understand that the highest skill is not about mastering techniques or overpowering materials. It's about becoming so sensitive, so present, so aligned with the natural flow of things that your actions arise spontaneously from wisdom rather than from personal will. She moves to her small stove where a kettle is beginning to sing, and you notice how even this simple action carries the same quality of effortless precision. Her movements are economical, yet graceful, purposeful, yet relaxed. This same principle applies to every aspect of life. She continues as she prepares tea, relationships, work, creative expression, even the way we respond to difficult emotions. Everything flows more smoothly, she says as she pours the tea, when we stop trying to force outcomes and start listening to the deeper intelligence that moves through all situations. The tea she serves is unlike any you've ever tasted. Simultaneously delicate and robust, with layers of flavor that seem to unfold on your tongue like a flower opening in slow motion. I grow and blend these herbs myself, she explains. But again, it's not really about following recipes or techniques. Each season, each batch of leaves teaches me something new about balance and harmony. The tea creates itself. I just provide the conditions for its natural perfection to emerge. As you sip the extraordinary tea, you feel a deep settling in your nervous system, as if your entire being is synchronizing with some fundamental rhythm of existence. Master Moen, you ask, how does this principle of effortless action relate to the challenges of daily life? It's one thing to carve wood or blend tea with this kind of presence, but what about dealing with difficult people, financial stress, health problems, situations where we feel we need to fight or struggle to survive? Her eyes sparkle with understanding, and she sets down her teacup with the same mindful precision she brings to everything. Let me tell you about a time when this teaching was tested in the most challenging way possible. 7 years ago, I received news that would have devastated my old way of being. My younger brother, who lived in the valley below, had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. The doctors gave him 3 months to live. The weight of this revelation settles into the small Hermitage like a heavy stone dropping into still water. My first impulse was pure reaction panic, despair, the desperate need to do something, anything, to fix the situation. I wanted to research every possible treatment, drag him to specialists, spend my life savings on experimental therapies. The thought of losing him activated every survival instinct the first possessed. She pauses, gazing out the window at the mist-covered valley below where her brother had lived. But then I remembered everything I had learned from Woe about listening deeply before acting. Instead of immediately jumping into frantic activity, I sat in meditation for 3 days. I held the news of his illness in the spacious awareness we've been discussing, neither pushing it away nor being overwhelmed by it. I asked the same question I asked of the wood. What wants to emerge from this situation? You leaned forward, deeply moved by her vulnerability and wisdom. What did you discover? I discovered that my brother didn't need me to save him, she says with profound gentleness. He needed me to love him completely, to be fully present with him, to help him face his death with the same grace he had tried to bring to his life. When I visited him with this understanding, instead of with panic and false hope, everything changed. We spent his final months in the most intimate, honest, beautiful communion we had ever shared. Tears begin to flow down your cheeks as you feel the depth of love and wisdom in her words. Instead of fighting against the reality of his illness, we worked together to help him die well, she continues. We talked about everything we had never spoken of, our childhood fears, our deepest dreams, our gratitude for having been siblings in this mysterious journey of life. We laughed together, cried together, and sat in silence together. His death became not a tragedy to be prevented, but a sacred passage to be honored. He lived for 8 months instead of 3, Master Moen says with a gentle smile. But more importantly, those 8 months were filled with a quality of presence and love that transformed both of us. She stands and walks to the window, looking out at the emerging landscape with eyes that seem to hold both great sadness and great joy. This experience taught me that Wu Wei doesn't mean being passive or accepting everything without question. It means responding from such deep listening, such profound presence, that our actions align perfectly with what each situation truly needs. Sometimes what's needed is fierce protection, sometimes gentle acceptance, sometimes radical honesty, sometimes patient silence. You feel a fundamental shift occurring in your understanding, as if a puzzle piece you didn't know was missing has suddenly clicked into place. So, effortless action isn't about not making effort. You say slowly, working through this insight. It's about making the right effort at the right time in the right way based on deep attunement to what's actually happening rather than on our fears or desires about what should be happening. Precisely? She nods with evident satisfaction. The effort becomes effortless because it's aligned with the natural flow of things rather than fighting against it. Like a skilled sailor who doesn't fight the wind but uses it skillfully to reach any destination. The wind does the work, but the sailor's knowledge and presence make purposeful movement possible. She returns to her workbench and picks up the flute again, running her fingers along its nearly completed surface. This instrument will be finished when it's finished, she says. I can feel that it's nearly ready to sing, but forcing the final steps would ruin months of patient work. Everything in its own time, according to its own nature, guided by awareness that's learned to trust the intelligence inherent in all processes. The morning sun has now completely burned away the mist, revealing a breathtaking view of the valley below. Terrace fields create geometric patterns on the hillsides. A river winds silver through the landscape, and in the distance, you can see the rooftops of villages where people are beginning their daily activities. From this elevated perspective, human life appears as part of a vast interconnected web of natural processes, farmers attuned to the seasons, water moving with the shape of the land, communities forming and transforming in response to needs and conditions. This view always reminds me of the bigger picture. Master Miaoan says, following your gaze. From up here, you can see how everything is part of one seamless whole. The same intelligence that moves the river along its banks, tells the trees when to bloom and when to shed, guides birds across vast distances. This same intelligence moves through human life, she continues, cleaning her carving tools with meditative care. When we stop interfering with our small-minded ideas about how things should be, that intelligence can move through us. The deepest teaching of Wu is that we are not separate from it. We are expressions of it. When we align ourselves with its flow, she says, our actions become as effortless and appropriate as a bird's flight or a flower blooming. We stop experiencing life as a struggle between ourselves and the world, and start experiencing it as a dance between different aspects of one unified consciousness. As she speaks, you notice a small bird landing on the windowsill. It's a mountain finch with bright yellow markings, completely unafraid of your presence. Master moves slowly toward a shelf where she keeps a small dish of seeds. The bird watches her with alert yet trusting eyes. She places a few seeds on the windowsill, and the finch begins to eat, occasionally looking up at both of you as if acknowledging your kindness. See how naturally this interaction unfolds, she whispers. The bird trusts because my movements carry no aggression or neediness. I offer the seeds because doing so feels like a natural expression of caring, not because I want something in return. Neither of us is forcing anything, yet perfect communication and cooperation arise spontaneously. The bird finishes eating and flies away with a brief musical trill that seems like a song of gratitude. Human relationships can have this same quality, Master Maoan explains. Instead of trying to manipulate outcomes or control other people's responses, we can learn to offer ourselves authentically and trust that whatever unfolds will be exactly what's needed for everyone's growth. You spend the next hour in quiet companionship, sometimes talking, sometimes working together on small tasks around the Hermitage, sometimes simply sitting in the profound peace that seems to emanate from Master Maoan's very being. Everything she does, sweeping the floor, tending a small garden, arranging flowers, becomes a teaching about presence and effortless action. You begin to understand that this isn't a special technique she applies to certain activities, but rather a way of being that infuses every moment with grace and intelligence. As the sun reaches its zenith, she walks you to the door of the Hermitage. Before you return to the monastery, she says, I want to give you one final practice to take with you for the next week. Before taking any significant action, pause and ask yourself, what wants to happen here? Not what do I want to happen, not what should happen, but what wants to emerge from this situation if I get my personal agenda out of the way. She presses into your hands a small piece of the wood you were carving earlier, its surface smooth from your tentative cuts. Let this piece of wood remind you that you are both the shaper and the shaped, she says with a bright gaze. Life is not something to control, but a current to collaborate with. When you set your ego aside, you begin to feel what wants to emerge through you. As you leave the Hermitage, the wood in your pocket feels warm, not just from your body, but from the lesson it now carries. Her words echo in your heart. Don't try to make something happen. Listen for what wants to be made. As you walk back toward the monastery, each step feels light, as though no longer driven by personal will but guided by something quieter and deeper. The trees, the stones, the wind, they all seem to merge with your awareness. You approach the monastery gates as the sun begins to lower, casting soft golden light on the rooftops. The familiar space now feels alive, as though seen for the first time through eyes no longer clouded by thought. In the courtyard, a few young monks sweep, carry water, pull weeds, each ordinary action infused with a quiet stillness. You realize this is Wuyi motion awareness lived in everyday life. A young practitioner with bright eyes and a gentle smile approaches. Welcome back from the mountains, she says. Master Mian's teachings tend to settle deep into the bones, don't they? Would you like to join our evening meditation? The others are gathering in the hall now, just as the sun is setting. You nod appreciatively, feeling as though you're being carried along by the current of this meaningful day. Walking beside her toward the meditation hall, your anticipation feels less like grasping and more like the quiet unfolding of a blossom ready to meet the dusk. The teachings have begun to take root beneath thought, laying down a quiet clarity that lets you receive life without needing to manage or control it. As you arrive, the hall glows with the soft golden light of late afternoon. Dozens of practitioners sit in ordered rows, silent and composed, their bodies relaxed but upright, faces calm and focused inward. You quietly take a seat near the back and notice something subtle has shifted in your inner approach to meditation. As the bell rings to begin the session, you close your eyes and settle into a vast stillness that feels more familiar than ever. Thoughts come and go like drifting clouds, while emotions arise and pass through like weather across a silent sky. Bodily sensations ebb and flow like waves meeting the shore of consciousness. Yet through it all, you remain the still observer, the unwavering center in which all experiences emerge and fade, leaving no mark. As the bell chimes once more, closing the session, your eyes open to find the meditation hall awash in the soft violet hue of twilight. The insights of the day on inner spaciousness, non-reactivity, and effortless responsiveness have merged into one cohesive realization. It feels less like something newly learned and more like something deeply remembered. As you bow alongside the others and step out of the hall, you don't just leave with teachings. You carry a renewed way of being. Dinner is served in a spacious hall where the entire Sangha gathers in mindful silence. You notice how the act of eating becomes its own form of meditation when awareness is present. The feel of the rice, the subtle taste of vegetables, the steam rising from a cup of tea. Each detail reveals the interdependence that brought the meal to life. Between each bite, you cultivate a broad inner awareness present with every mouthful, yet also spacious enough to allow passing thoughts or feelings without becoming entangled. After the meal, as the community moves toward their personal evening practices, you wander alone beneath the trees in the garden. Stars begin to flicker in the deepening sky, and lanterns scatter pools of warm glow along stone paths. Everything, the crunch of gravel, the soft rustle of bamboo, the distant chants echoing from ermitages, feels at once sacred and simple, as if the whole monastery breathes with serene attentiveness. Standing again by the fountain where Master Seong Yang once spoke of being a space for all that arises, you notice how profoundly you've changed, not in a loud or visible way, but at the very core of your being. You've stopped identifying with passing thoughts and feelings and begun recognizing yourself as the awareness behind them. The transformation is so gentle yet all-encompassing that it feels like emerging from a slumber you didn't even realize you were in. As the bamboo spout continues to pour water into the stone basin, you realize this gentle flow perfectly mirrors your understanding of how life unfolds. Life's experiences stream through consciousness the way water moves through the basin, sometimes stormy, sometimes serene, yet the basin remains unaffected, simply holding it all. You recognize yourself as that steady vessel, undisturbed by the ever-shifting flow of existence. As you begin heading back to your room for rest, a quiet thankfulness arises in your chest for the wisdom of all your teachers. Master Wo's teaching on response over reaction, Master Shengong's invitation to hold space for experience, and Master Jiguan's insight into true awareness. And with Master Moen's graceful example of effortless action, these teachings have woven into a realization that feels both extraordinary and utterly natural. As you lie in bed, the soft hum of morning chants reminds you that every moment lived with awareness is sacred. As you awaken from a deep, dreamless slumber, the shift into full awareness feels natural and fluid-like, crossing quietly from one part of a vast home into another. The monastery's bells begin to chime their morning melody, each tone resonating through the cool mountain air and harmonizing with your very being, as if tuning you to the frequency of waking life. In the soft pre-dawn light, you dress and step outside into a world renewed by night rain. Every surface glistens with dew, sparkling in the first light of morning like 1,000 tiny mirrors capturing the infinite sky. The scent of damp soil and pine fills your lungs, and your breath curls into the chilled air before vanishing. As you make your way along the familiar trails, you're struck by how the rain has unveiled a deeper beauty. The moss appears greener, the wood richer in tone, the stones glimmering with moisture. Your steps seem to lead you instinctively toward the meditation garden where you first met Master Wo. Yet this morning, a new moment is unfolding before you. A small group is gathered around an elderly monk seated calmly near the stone garden. His aged hands rest gently in his lap, eyes closed in deep stillness. This is Master Haegong, widely revered for embodying the patient mind, the ability to remain unshaken regardless of external circumstances. As you quietly draw near, you hear a young monk speaking with visible agitation. "Master Haegong," he says, "I've been meditating for 3 years, but I still get angry at the slightest things. Just yesterday, when a fellow student spilled my tea during lunch, I felt a surge of anger so intense that I had to leave the dining area. How can one cultivate the kind of deep patience you embody?" The young monk asks. "Sometimes I question whether true spiritual growth is even possible for me." Master Yang slowly opens his eyes, like petals unfurling to welcome the dawn. His gaze radiates such warm compassion that it reaches even those sitting on the fringes. "Mojin," he says, his voice carrying the enduring calm of ancient peaks. "Being upset at your lack of control is simply another form of that same reactivity," he continues. "You're battling against your human tendencies instead of seeking to understand them." He pauses, then adds, "Perhaps a story will help you see things differently." He shifts subtly in his seat, and the group instinctively leans closer, eager for the insight to come. "When I was your age," he begins, "I thought being patient meant burying my anger, pretending to be calm no matter what was stirring inside me. I got very good at this mask, and many admired my composure. But I knew that behind this peaceful front, waves of judgment and quiet fury still churned." A breeze rustles through the bamboo nearby, gently echoing the memory he shares. "One day, my teacher sent me into the mountains to stay for a month with a reclusive master who lived alone in a cave. His name was Master Bupjong, known widely for his legendary patience. But when I arrived," he says with a hint of amusement, "I was astonished to find him arguing quite loudly with a large crow perched in a nearby tree. It had been stealing vegetables from his garden, and he was scolding it like a disobedient child." Some monks chuckle at the image, and even you find yourself smiling as the story unfolds. "You greedy rascal," he scolded, wagging a finger at the crow. "I've told you countless times that we're meant to share these berries. This behavior is completely out of line." Master Haegong pauses, letting the audience absorb the odd humor of the moment. I felt deeply unsettled, watching a revered teacher behave in a way that seemed anything but patient. When the crow eventually flew off, I walked up to Master Bupjong and asked bluntly, "How can you claim to be patient when you argue with animals?" What he said next shattered my previous assumptions about patience. By now, the rising sun has bathed the garden in warmth, casting beautiful patterns of light and shade through the tree canopy. Master Bupjong let out a hearty laugh at my question. Then he asked, "Young one, did you see me harm the crow? Did I throw anything at it or try to trap it? Did I rage and fume or plot its downfall? Or did I simply express what I felt, mark a boundary, and move on?" As he spoke, something clicked inside me. It was more than understanding. It was a shift in perception. In that moment, I understood I had mistaken patience for emotional denial. Real patience, Master Haegong explains, doesn't mean you never feel frustration or anger. It means you allow those emotions to arise and pass without letting them control you. You respond from clarity and groundedness, while staying rooted in a peace that can't be shaken by emotional storms. The young monk looks puzzled, yet something in him stirs. "But master," the monk says, "if we voice our anger, won't that only cause more chaos and disharmony?" Master Haegong answers with a calm that carries great subtlety. "That depends entirely on where the emotion comes from. There's a profound difference between reacting blindly from emotion and expressing it with awareness." When Master Bop Jong rebuked the crow, he wasn't overwhelmed by annoyance. Instead, he channeled the emotions skillfully to communicate. Beneath the surface, he remained calm and compassionate, while the outward expression conveyed a message about respect and shared boundaries. To illustrate this, Master Haegong rises and walks over to a blooming shrub. He inspects the branches attentively, then gently but decisively adjusts a stem that's growing in a way that might eventually harm the plant's form. "This," he says, "is what patient care looks like, not blind acceptance, but thoughtful correction born of love for the greater good." Patience sometimes involves protecting boundaries. Other times, it's about voicing hard truths or taking decisive action, all stemming from a grounded, open awareness. Just then, the same crow from earlier lands confidently on the fountain's edge, just a few feet from the group. Everyone turns to watch the bird's arrival, and Master Hong lights up with a joyful grin. "Ah, my old companion," he says warmly. "Still eavesdropping on our teachings? Come to offer your insight?" The crow cocks its head thoughtfully, lets out a clear caw, then takes flight. The whole group bursts into laughter, and you feel how that unscripted moment added a new depth to the lesson beyond anything words could deliver. "See," Master Haegong says as he reclines again, "true patience also includes humor, lightness, and the ability to delight even in life's mésalliances. If we become too rigid about spirituality, we lose the spontaneous joy that springs from living as our true selves." Over the following hour, you observe Master Haegong attentively as he addresses each student's personal inquiry about cultivating patience. With impressive precision, he adapts his responses to match each person's current level of understanding. To one student frustrated with their meditation progress, he advises focusing less on attaining special states and more on welcoming whatever shows up. For another, dealing with tensions at home, he suggests ways to stay centered while engaging sincerely. What stands out most is how Master Haegong exemplifies the very essence of what he's teaching. He never rushes, never forces. Every word seems to arise from deep attunement and heartfelt attentiveness. Even when students interrupt or pose off-topic questions, his calm never wavers. This isn't because he represses annoyance, but because his awareness is vast enough to hold every bit of confusion and longing with equal kindness. As the group prepares to begin their morning work, Master Haegong walks toward you with a look that suggests he understands something unspoken. "I sense you've received deep insights during your stay," he says warmly. "But there's one final layer of patience I'd like to offer you, perhaps the most vital for someone returning soon to everyday responsibilities." He guides you to a peaceful corner of the garden, where a majestic old ginkgo tree stands in quiet dignity. Its golden fan-shaped leaves glisten in the soft light, and its thick trunk radiates the strength of centuries of slow, enduring growth. "This tree," he says, resting his palm gently on the bark, "is among my greatest mentors. It has endured storms, droughts, floods, and even the disruptions caused by human hands. Still, it grew steadily toward the sun. Do you know its secret?" he asks. You gaze up into the vast expanse of branches, humbled by the tree's quiet strength. Its roots, you offer. "That's part of it," Master Haegong agrees. "But more than anything, this tree has never rushed. It grows at the rhythm that best supports its well-being and evolution, never chasing an imagined destination nor lingering in past cycles. Each ring in its trunk is a quiet testament to another year of presence, another year of becoming without pressure." He settles beneath its outstretched limbs and gestures for you to join him. This, he says softly, is the core lesson of patience. His voice carries a note of reverence. True patience isn't only about staying composed during hardship. It's about learning to trust the timeline of your own unfolding. Many seekers wear themselves out by trying to accelerate their awakening, expecting sudden transformation and feeling discouraged when progress seems slow. His words touch something vulnerable in you. How often have you been disappointed with your own journey? Comparing your pace to others, forcing insights instead of letting them emerge naturally. The tree doesn't criticize itself for not blooming in winter or despair when harsh winds strip it bare. It simply remains true to what it is, Master Haegong reflects, continuing its quiet task of living fully in each moment, knowing that is enough for whatever is meant to bloom. A deep silence settles between you, broken only by the rustle of leaves and distant echoes from the temple grounds. In this gentle stillness, your whole being starts aligning with the unhurried rhythm of the tree. Your breath deepens, and your body shifts into a restful calm. This is what I most want you to carry with you. Master Haegong speaks in a low voice. When you return to your everyday responsibilities and meet life's inevitable challenges, remember, you are like this tree. You grow steadily toward your true nature, enduring each storm with grace, and trusting that everything unfolds in its rightful time. Almost like answering a silent invitation, a cheerful group of children appears at the garden gate. They're students from the local school who sometimes come to the monastery for cultural visits. Their laughter and animated voices fill the space with youthful vitality, bringing a new kind of brightness to the serene garden. You observe with curiosity as Master Haegong naturally shifts his presence to welcome the children, not changing who he is, but flowing into a new form of expression, like water adjusting to the shape of its vessel. Master Haegong! One of the kids exclaims joyfully, dashing over to him. Will you tell us the story of the impatient farmer again, please? The other children quickly gather around, eyes wide with anticipation, their innocent joy impossible to resist. You sense you're about to witness another dimension of his wisdom, how he shares timeless truths through simple tales that reach both heart and mind. Of course, my little friends, he replies, his voice full of the warmth adults save for children. But first, he adds gently, let's all settle in under our wise old friend, the ginkgo tree. Trees make wonderful listeners, and this one has heard more stories than we can imagine. Once the children find their seats in the shade, Master Haegong begins. Long ago, there was a farmer so impatient that he couldn't even sleep after planting his rice. Each morning, he dashed to his fields, staring at the soil, willing his crops to sprout overnight. Why are they not growing quicker? He'd often ask his wife. The farmer next door planted his rice the same day as I did, yet I bet his stalks are already taller than mine. The children are completely absorbed in the story, and you too feel captivated by the unfolding events. Each passing day, the farmer grew more restless. When the first tender green sprouts appeared, he was thrilled and decided to speed up their growth. These tiny plants, he thought, are struggling so hard to emerge from the ground. I should lend them a hand. Master Haegong makes a deliberate pause, prompting a concerned child to ask, what did he do? The master continues, smiling softly. At dawn the next day, the impatient man rushed to his field and began gently tugging on each sprout, hoping to make them grow taller. He spent the whole day pulling up every single plant. By dusk, he was drained but beamed with pride. Just look at my rice. It's grown so much in just one day. He boasted to his wife. Surely I'm the finest farmer in the village, he declared. The children's eyes widened in suspense, waiting to hear what followed. But when dawn broke and he returned to see his thriving field, Master Yang lowers his voice to a hush every single plant had withered away. By attempting to rush their development, he had damaged their tender roots and ruined the entire harvest. The children collectively gasp, and within you, the story awakens a profound realization. That day, Master Hyong reflects, the farmer discovered a timeless truth. Some things must unfold in their own time. Relationships flourish in their own rhythm. True understanding dawns only when the moment is right. Life's most profound gifts often arrive effortlessly when we meet them with patient hearts. One of the older kids raises her hand, curiosity in her eyes. Master Hong, does that mean we shouldn't strive to grow or work hard? What a thoughtful question, he replies, clearly delighted. The farmer's error wasn't in his care or his desire for healthy crops. It was that he didn't respect the natural rhythm and let his anxiety lead to interference. There's a world of difference between encouraging growth and trying to rush it. When you study, practice an instrument, or learn something new, you're tending to your own development. But when frustration creeps in, and you start wanting to jump ahead or demand quick success, you may end up hindering your own learning. As the kids quietly absorb this idea, you think about how clearly it echoes the monastery's teachings. Every lesson is revolved around the same core message. When we release our resistance and instead harmonize with life's unfolding, everything becomes more fluid and effective. Not because it requires no effort, but because we're no longer working against the current. The children soon scatter across the monastery grounds, their happy voices drifting away toward the main hall. Master Hyang watches their retreating forms with clear affection, then turns back to you with a gaze full of quiet wisdom. Children are among our greatest teachers in patience, he muses. They remind us that growth should be joyful, that learning is most powerful when playful, and that true transformation only ever happens in the here and now. By now, the morning sun has grown warm, and the last traces of dew have vanished from the grass, leaving the world radiant and clear. Master, you begin. As I prepare to return to my regular life, how do I carry this patience and awareness with me? I worry that the chaos and distractions of the outside world will soon wash away these realizations. His eyes grow gentle with empathy, and you can tell this is a question he's heard from countless seekers before. What matters most, he says, slowly walking toward the monastery's main square, is to remember that patience isn't somewhere you arrive. It's a capacity you build. Every moment is a chance to train. Whether you're standing in a long queue, stuck in traffic, listening to opposing views, or forgiving yourself for missteps, all of these are invitations to grow in patience. As you walk alongside him, you pass monks and novices immersed in their duties. Each one greets Master Hyong with quiet reverence, and his mere presence seems to spread calmness to everyone nearby. The key, he continues, is to begin with something small and practice it steadily. Don't aim for perfect patience overnight. Recall the tale of the impatient farmer. Instead, each day, find one small moment where you can choose to respond rather than react, where your presence is the offering instead of your urgency. You arrive at the monastery's heart, where the fountain still murmurs its ceaseless song. Master Haegong pauses beside the stone basin. This fountain has flowed for more than 3 centuries, he says. Generations of students have sat beside it, grappling with the same questions you're facing now. And generations of teachers have offered the same core teachings: patience, presence, and trust in wisdom's natural unfolding. You belong to a timeless lineage of truth seekers, and that invisible thread of connection will support you even in moments of solitude or uncertainty. Reaching into his robe, he retrieves a smooth, polished stone, similar to the one Master Shongyong gave you, though this one, shaped into a near-perfect sphere, carries the wear of generations. This has been passed through many hands in our community, he says softly, resting it in your open palm. Each teacher has carried it during times of doubt and hardship. Let it remind you, patience isn't about staying calm all the time. It's about returning to presence again and again. no matter how many times you drift. The stone feels deeply warm and smooth, as if holding the quiet strength of countless teachers before you. "Thank you, Master Yuan," you say, deeply touched by the meaning this object carries. You vow to carry it as a symbol, a reminder that true growth, like the ginkgo tree, emerges naturally when you release control and trust the unfolding. As you begin to leave the courtyard, Master Yang turns and offers one last teaching. Never forget, everyone you meet is practicing patience in their own imperfect way. The ones who challenge you the most, the reactive, the impatient, are often your greatest teachers, helping you strengthen what you seek to cultivate. If you can meet their hurried energy with your steadiness, their agitation with your calm presence, their confusion with your insight, you don't just uplift your own path, but offer healing to the world around you. The afternoon settles into a tranquil rhythm as you wander toward a corner of the monastery grounds yet unexplored. A garden terrace unfolds before you, where elderly monks carefully tend to vegetable rows with the same serene devotion they offer to their formal meditations. The quiet dedication of these aged caretakers, some stooped with time, but still nurturing life that sustains the community, awakens a deep emotion within you. One of the eldest monks, his spine bowed by decades of gardening, lifts his gaze as you approach. His time-worn face is lined deeply, and it shines with the peace that comes from living in alignment with one's core values. "Ah, a guest to our humble vegetable meditation," he says in a voice like whispering leaves. "Would you care to learn from the patience of the earth?" he asks, handing you a small gardening tool before you can even answer. She's the most profound teacher of them all. He motions to a bed of young lettuce. "Weeding," he says gently, "is like caring for the mind. You remove what no longer serves growth, but with gentleness, so you don't uproot what you're nurturing." As you kneel beside him, gently removing weeds from the lettuce bed, you're struck by how this humble task unfolds into deep meditation. Every motion asks for awareness and discernment, knowing what nurtures the garden and what competes with it. Your hands move through the cool earth as your mind settles into the rhythm of intentional care. "You see," the old monk says as he continues to weed, "the earth teaches that patience isn't passive waiting. It's loving action. She nourishes, holds the seeds in darkness until they're ready to sprout, endures storms that might threaten young shoots. Her patience is fierce and protective, not fragile or indifferent. This is the sort of patience we can extend toward both our own unfolding and that of others." As the afternoon sun gently warms your back, you lose all sense of time within the calming rhythm of gardening. Other monks work nearby in peaceful silence, and you feel supported by a quiet bond and shared intention that makes words unnecessary. Then it dawns on you, this too is part of the teaching. Being present with others without needing to fill every moment with chatter or activity. As the sunlight shifts toward evening, the elder monk rises slowly and surveys what you've done together. "Good," he says, with quiet contentment. "The plants can breathe more freely now," he remarks. "By tomorrow, they'll grow stronger and stretch a little closer to the light. That's how all growth happens, not in grand leaps, but in countless small gestures of care and mindful effort." He brushes the dirt from his hands, his gaze holding the wisdom of many passing seasons. "When you return to the world outside these walls," he says, "remember the lettuce. Each day, you can tend the garden of your mind with the same steady gentleness, pulling out unhelpful thoughts, nurturing the qualities you value, and trusting that small, steady actions create lasting transformation." As you make your way back to the main halls, the earthy scent still clinging to your hands and your heart filled with the day's quiet revelations, you sense a profound feeling of completion settling in. Tomorrow, your return to daily life begins, but now you carry a treasure more meaningful than any outward achievement. You come to see that real peace and clarity don't stem from shaping the world around you, but from nurturing vastness and stillness within. Every future difficulty becomes a chance to apply these ageless insights, to meet life's tests not with reactivity, but with presence and grace. The final dawn greets you in a stillness so deep it feels as though it carries the full weight of everything you've learned. You awaken naturally, no bells or cues needed. Your inner clock now beats in time with the monastery's quiet rhythm. Through your window, the mountaintops blush with the first light of dawn, rose and gold hues whispering promises of renewal. As you get ready, you notice how your movements are effortlessly steeped in the mindful awareness you've cultivated during your stay. Washing your face, folding your blankets, placing your belongings, these humble tasks now shine with the same focused attention you once reserved for sitting meditation. You realize that what you've truly gained here isn't mere technique, but the art of turning everyday life into a sacred doorway to awareness. As you step once more into the tranquil pre-dawn garden where it all began, the familiar stones beneath your feet feel transformed. Not because the path has changed, but because your way of walking has. Master Wo's gravel designs appear freshly etched, like sacred script, silently speaking to the heart. To your amazement, you see Master Wo quietly seated by the garden, not arranging stones, but simply sitting with the unfolding morning. His stillness radiates all you've come to understand about calm, open awareness, fully awake, deeply grounded, at one with everything, yet clinging to nothing. Noticing you approach, he greets you with a wordless gesture, a quiet nod that reflects the deep shift he's seen in you. The final lesson, he says softly once you're seated beside him, is always about return. How do we bring these realizations back into a world filled with noise, responsibilities, and relationship? You confess, I've been thinking about that too. These teachings feel natural here, where calm and insight surround me. But I worry that when I return to traffic, difficult conversations, or daily stress, I'll slip back into old habits. He nods gently, dawnlight dancing in his gaze. Your concern itself shows insight, he replies. To recognize the challenge is to already be partway to meeting it wisely. But here's something that may surprise you. The monastery isn't truly a peaceful place. His words catch you off guard. What do you mean? You ask, glancing around the tranquil gardens and serene halls. Master Wo smiles softly. This place, too, is filled with people, which means it carries the same tensions and trials found in any human setting. Differences in personality, diverging views on procedures, moments of ego or confusion. These things still happen here. The key difference is that instead of reacting from habit, we've trained ourselves to respond from conscious awareness. This place has nurtured a culture where meeting difficulty with mindful presence is the norm, not the exception. As though on cue, raised voices echo across the courtyard from one of the kitchen buildings. The words are indistinct, but the tension is clear. Rather than brushing aside the disturbance, Master Wo gestures calmly toward the sound. Shall we see how this lesson holds up in a real conflict? He suggests. You follow him into the kitchen, where two junior monks are locked in an argument over rice. One insists it's overcooked and must be redone, while the other believes it's fine and redoing it would waste precious supplies. Tension fills their voices, their postures tight with defensiveness. You sense this isn't just about rice. It's about pride, capability, and control. What unfolds next reveals the stark contrast between mindful community and reactive behavior. Without choosing sides, Master Wo quietly enters and inspects the pot of rice himself. His presence alone shifts the mood, not through force, but by the calming influence of non-reactive awareness. Brothers, he says kindly, his voice melting through the tension. I can see how much you both care about serving the Sangha, but perhaps this isn't really about rice. Maybe it's about each of you wanting to do your best and feeling disappointed when your standards don't align. The two monks hesitate, their tense energy beginning to ease as they take in the insight of Master Wo's words. "Brother Hegwan," he says to the one insisting on redoing the rice, "your meticulousness and pursuit of excellence enrich our Sangha." "And Brother Mirin," he continues, turning to the other, "your practical approach and care for conservation are just as vital. How can we integrate both of these strengths into our solution?" You observe with interest as the mood shifts from opposition to cooperation. The monks begin listening rather than arguing, acknowledging one another's viewpoint, and working together to find a way that values both excellence and resourcefulness. In a matter of minutes, they agree on a solution neither had imagined earlier, using the slightly overcooked rice in a dish where its texture would actually enhance the flavor. As the three of you exit the kitchen, Master Wo gives you a quiet, knowing smile. "You see," he says, "the monastery doesn't remove human difficulties. It simply creates a space to practice meeting them with wisdom." He adds, "The same skills that just turned a clash into collaboration can be used wherever people interact." You spend the morning wandering through various parts of the monastery. With fresh perspective, you begin noticing subtle signs of the daily human stories Master Wo spoke of: a student silently wrestling with self-doubt during meditation, two teachers gently but firmly debating scheduling, an elderly monk whose physical pain sometimes causes flashes of impatience. What touches you most isn't that challenges no longer arise, but the way they're met with unwavering awareness and thoughtful care. As you pause once more near the fountain where you learn to become spacious for all experience, Master Wo gently reminds you, the real practice here is not a technique, but awareness itself. Not awareness as a refuge from hardship, but is the most skillful way to meet it. When presence becomes your default, every difficulty transforms into a doorway for deepening. As the afternoon unfolds, you are invited to attend a special ritual marking your shift from being a monastery guest to returning to daily life. The whole community gathers in the main meditation hall, forming a circle of both long-time residents and temporary guests. At the center rests a humble altar with a single candle whose flame remains still and steady, despite the gentle breeze moving through the room. Master Jiguan, the senior teacher who first directed you to your nature as pure awareness, rises and speaks. "Today we honor an eternal truth, that within every arrival lies the seed of departure, and within every farewell, the essence of what was received remains." Our friend has spent these days remembering what was always known. That peace is their essence, wisdom their inheritance, and love their most authentic answer to life. One by one, each teacher you've learned from offers a short reflection. Master Xiangyong speaks of becoming the space for all that arises. Master Maioan speaks of the natural flow of unforced action, while Master Haiyang reflects on patience as deep faith in timing. As their words blend together, you sense a unified understanding forming, greater than any one teaching. Then Master Jiguan adds, "The most important voice here is your own. Would you be willing to share what you're carrying forward from this journey?" he gently asks. "Not just ideas, but the insights you've truly embodied. What will support you as you return to everyday life?" You sit in stillness, surrounded by quiet attention and deep care. When you finally speak, the words come not from thought, but from a deeper place within. "What I'm taking with me," you begin, "is the recognition that I am not just a reactive self. I am awareness itself, within which all experiences arise and dissolve. And from this space, I can meet life with understanding and kindness, rather than old patterns of fear or hurt." You pause, letting the meaning sink in. Non-reactivity isn't apathy. It's being so aware and open that my responses come from clarity, not confusion. Every difficult person is a reminder to stay present. Every hardship is a path back to my true self. Even when I forget, that forgetting becomes an invitation to remember again. The group listens in silence, and you feel your insight becoming part of their shared wisdom. Master Wo walks over holding a worn leather journal, its pages softened by years of use. This book holds the reflections of those who once sat here like you, he says. Some offered poems, others sketches, and a few shared only a word or phrase that captured their truest realization. Would you like to add your insight to this stream of seekers? He asks. Your hands tremble slightly as you accept the journal, touched by the depth of the invitation. Flipping through, you see decades of sincere expressions, some complex thoughts, others just single words like home, stillness, or truth. You arrive at an empty page and pause, letting your heart speak freely. Then you write, I came searching for freedom from reaction, and I uncovered that my true nature is untouched by any reaction. The waves believed they had to be still until they realized they were the sea itself. Beneath your words, you draw a single circle open yet whole, simple yet infinite. As the ceremony moves into silent meditation, you feel the teachings fully absorbed, no longer just ideas, but truths etched into your being. The quiet isn't empty. It holds the voices of all who've awakened before you. When the final bell sounds, marking the close of your formal time here, you feel a calm readiness to carry what you've received into everyday life. That evening, the community shares a joyful meal, not just in honor of your farewell, but in celebration of how the teachings will continue through you. The conversations flow effortlessly, moving between deep spiritual truths and bursts of playful laughter, revealing that true wisdom often lives in everyday interactions. You begin to see that blending the sacred with the ordinary may be the monastery's most powerful teaching. You come to understand that awakening doesn't remove us from life. It enables us to meet life more intimately and wisely. As night deepens, you join small circles of departing visitors. Each person shares how the teachings have landed uniquely in their own heart and experience. Despite varied stories and paths, you perceive a shared transformation beneath it all. It becomes clear that the monastery acts like a crucible, a space where individuals from all backgrounds uncover the same timeless essence beyond identity and circumstance. A woman who manages a Tokyo corporation says she's already applying the wisdom of non-reactivity to ease tensions at work. Nearby, an elderly retired teacher from California speaks of how cultivating open awareness has softened the struggles of aging and loss of vitality. A young Berlin-based artist tells you how embracing effortless creation has transformed her work, allowing inspiration to arise naturally instead of forcing results. As you listen, you realize how universally applicable these teachings are, regardless of background or calling. These aren't distant spiritual ideas meant only for monks. They are grounded truths that, when practiced with honesty and perseverance, can transform any aspect of human life. The monastery was a nurturing space to uncover and explore these truths, but their true worth lies in how you carry them into the complexities of daily existence. As night grows quieter and the Sangha disperses for evening reflections, Master Wo approaches you for a final conversation in private. Tomorrow marks your departure, he says, sitting beside you on a bench overlooking the glowing valley. But understand this home isn't a destination. It's the awareness you carry within. With every step you take, every person you meet, and every obstacle you encounter, you'll be moving through the same open awareness that has revealed itself to you here. Below, the valley glows in the moonlight, and the distant villages sparkle like stars scattered across the earth. Each point of light represents someone grappling with the same essential questions that brought you here. Master Wo continues, how can one stay calm in the middle of turmoil? How can we act from clarity rather than habit? How do we remain anchored in our essence while managing everyday responsibilities? You're returning not as someone who escaped life's difficulties, but as one who has learned to face them from a new depth of being. Master Wo rises, walking toward the edge where valley meets sky. This monastery will always be here, he says, should you ever need to return to what you've remembered. Yet more vital than the monastery's physical presence is the sanctuary you've uncovered within your own consciousness, a space that accompanies you wherever life may lead. Each mindful breath reconnects you to that inner refuge. As you settle in for your final night's rest, you're surprised not by sorrow, but by a deep sense of thankfulness and anticipation to live, apply, and share what has been awakened. What this monastery has gifted you is not an escape from hardship, but a way to meet life's difficulties as gateways to greater awakening. Now, every person who challenges you becomes a mirror for your patience. Every tense moment transforms into an invitation to remain grounded in mindful awareness. Moments of friction now reveal themselves as openings to respond with wisdom instead of reacting from habit. That night, your dreams echo symbols of integration, bridges uniting distant shores, rivers flowing from peaks to oceans, seeds imbued with ancient forests finding new ground. Even in sleep, you are embodying the shift that has occurred. When dawn gently wakes you in your simple guest room, a quiet completeness settles over you, an integration of all that's been received and all that lies ahead. The light of this departure morning feels like a benediction, ushering you into a new chapter with grace. With the same attentiveness you've practiced throughout your stay, you pack your things slowly and deliberately. Each item folded with presence, each gift from the teachers a physical symbol of deeper truths. These small keepsakes serve as anchors, reminders of insight when worldly momentum threatens to drown it out. Your final steps across the monastery grounds become a walking meditation in motion. Each well-worn trail and structure offers quiet lessons in transience and appreciation. The garden where Master Wo first illustrated the power of stillness. The fountain that whispered the meaning of open awareness. The secluded hut where you encountered the flow of effortless being. The ancient ginkgo tree, with its golden leaves, reminded you that all growth follows its own sacred pace. Each place carries wisdom that will keep unfolding within you long after your body has departed. As you approach the gates, the entire Sangha gathers, forming a ring of presence that honors both your passage and their shared devotion to awakening. Rather than offering instructions or cautions, they simply radiate the very virtues they embody: mindful presence, compassion, deep understanding, gentle humor, and a quiet certainty that your insights cannot be lost because they were always within you. As Master Wo steps forward for a final parting gesture, he speaks no words. He simply joins his palms and bows deeply to you, honoring the awakened nature that has blossomed during your time here. In that bow, you feel the silent blessing of countless awakened beings echoing through generations. Your return bow is more than an act of reverence. It's a recognition of the shared awakened essence that links all beings. As you walk through the monastery gates one last time, you don't just carry memories. You carry a transformed understanding of yourself and of the deeper currents shaping life. The road stretching ahead winds gently down the mountainside, leading you back to the valley where life continues its ceaseless rhythm of trials and openings. Yet now, you walk not as someone returning to normal life, but as one who recognizes there is no such thing as ordinary life, only life, perceived through either habitual mind or awakened presence. As you reach the first turn in the path, the monastery bells chime for the final time, their reverberations echoing like a sacred farewell into the expanse of the world. But deep inside, you know that a bell now lives within you, ready to sound at any moment, bringing you back to the present, to mindfulness, to the stillness that is your essence. Through each breath, interaction, or challenge, you now have the opportunity to embody this realization, that one can stay grounded in stillness amidst life's chaos, while fully embracing its creative unfolding. The final teaching offered here is wordless, simply the recognition that there is no final teaching at all, only an ever-deepening unfolding of awareness into itself. You do not depart from the monastery so much as you extend its presence, becoming a vessel of its timeless wisdom, a link between ancient insight and present-day need. Each moment of grounded presence, each compassionate response, becomes part of a lineage of awakening that transcends culture and era. As the monastery fades behind the curving hills, you don't feel a sense of parting, but an expansion. The lines separating sacred and everyday, teacher and student, monastery and world, dissolve, leaving only the realization that life itself is the eternal teaching when met with the awakened heart. The strength of non-reaction isn't something you've gained, it's a truth you've recalled. It doesn't require your effort to sustain. It remains steady when you simply abide in your true essence. With every stride toward home, you deepen your connection to a world longing for the gifts of presence, clarity, and unwavering inner peace that emerge from a heart fully awake. As we near the end of our journey through these timeless teachings, let the Buddha's own words become the lantern guiding your next steps. Peace arises from within. Do not look for it outside. In the ordinary rhythms of daily life, recall that the profound stillness you touched in the mountain monastery was never dependent on outside forces. It was always your own true being, patiently awaiting your recognition. As the Buddha said, you are not punished for your anger, but by it. So whenever that familiar wave of reactivity stirs within you, remember the story of the merchant, the calm presence of Master Wango. Remember that you are the open space through which all emotions arise and dissolve. No reaction, no matter how intense, can disturb the spacious awareness of who you truly are. Hatred never ends through more hatred. It only ends through love. This is the timeless truth. When conflict arises, let yourself become the still presence that shifts tension into empathy, impulsiveness into understanding, and pain into compassion. You weren't born to battle life's storms, but to embody the peaceful center around which they pass and eventually find rest. The Buddha's final teaching was simple: strive diligently for your own liberation. But know this, such striving isn't to become something new. It's to clear away all that veils the truth of who you've always been. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, awareness over habit, and presence over impulse, you are adding to the great awakening of humanity. Let this ageless truth stay with you. The mind shapes reality. Whatever you hold in thought, you become. You are no longer the limited, reactive self you once imagined. You are the vast field of consciousness itself, briefly taking on this human experience, not to gain peace, wisdom, or love, but to realize they've always been yours. From all of us at Moonmind Temple, may you live each day with calm awareness, meet life's challenges with clarity, and remember, your true strength lies not in reacting, but in abiding as the space where all life happens. Until our paths cross again in the light of shared understanding, let these teachings rest quietly in your heart. Though the sound of the monastery bells fades, the essence of their wisdom continues to resonate beyond time.